Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Lydia, and today I want to show you how to make sauerkraut. So you only really need cabbage and salt for this recipe, but I like to add some peppercorns and I like to use dill weed, and I'm using some fresh one. Never tried to use fresh ones before, but I just decided to because I had some in my garden, and then garlic. And watching this video back and editing it, I realized I forgot my bay leaf. I also add bay leaves to my sauerkraut. So first thing you want to do is grab your sauerkraut. I'm sorry, you grab your cabbage. I'm using 2 cabbages, and all I'm doing is peeling the outer layer and I'm setting those aside. Next, I'm going to just roughly chop around the core of the cabbage, and I'm doing this to both of my cabbages. You don't want the core in the sauerkraut or in the final product. And I'm going to be using my food processor to, chop it up evenly. So you can definitely do this by hand with a knife, but I'm just using my knife to just roughly chop it. So if it's in my food processor, and then my food processor does all the hard work for me. So I also have a fermenting kit with that I use for my sauerkraut. You don't need a fermenting kit, but I'm going to be using it just because I have it on hand. I've had it for many years now, and this is kind of what the sauerkraut looks like once it's all processed in the food processor. I like doing this because it's evenly chopped up. Next, I'm going to chop up my garlic very thinly. I'm using 2 garlic cloves. You don't have to use a lot. I think less is more in this recipe. And yeah, I'm just going to chop it off and then chop it up. And then I'm going to kind of cut my dill into smaller pieces. I'll be using 2 jars. I've never tried fresh dill. This was my first time. Like I said, it was in my garden. And next, I'm just going to sprinkle in my peppercorn, and I'm going to be adding around 2 spoons of salt. Make sure you're using just the right salt. I believe iodine salt is bad, so don't use that kind, but you might want to look into it. Just make sure that it's the right salt. I added my dill weed, and then essentially all you want to do is massage your salt, your dill weed, and your cabbage all together until the cabbage starts releasing juices. Now I'm using my Dutch oven, but you can use whatever large pot you have. You'll need a pretty large one, especially depending on, how many cabbages you use. You could definitely use more or less. And now I'm adding in my garlic and dill weed. There isn't an exact science or anything to any of this. You kind of just taste it and make sure you add enough salt. And like I said, the garlic and the dill weed, that's all extra. You basically only need the cabbage and the salt to make sauerkraut. So all of this other stuff is extra. Next, I'm packing it tightly into a mason jar. Make sure your mason jars are clean, of course. And I'm using this wooden contraption to, pound it down, but you don't need it as long as you just get the, cabbage down and compact into your jar somehow. And so I'm going to be doing this with both of the jars of sauerkraut or of cabbage, whatever you want to call it. You get my gist. And yeah, I'm just going to be doing that. And then I'm just going to be adding these glass weights. Like I said, I'm using a kit, but you don't have to. If you don't have these weights, you can I've heard people put like rocks in a Ziploc bag and do that, but essentially you don't want any of the cabbage to be above the water because bacteria could grow. And then those leaves, those cabbage leaves that you set aside from earlier, you want to use those on top. So now if you don't have the weights, you can just use the leaves instead. I'm going to be using both. You definitely don't have to use both if you're using the lids or the weights. This is probably like overkill, but I'm just showing you guys kind of what I'm doing right now. So you can do it, then wipe the tops off. And if you're not using the fermenting kits, just use some kind of lid and just check on it. Make sure there's enough liquid. These are, the kit that I was talking about. So these lids kind of like, they burp themselves, and it's kind of like a no-brainer for me, which is perfect. Next, I'm going to just set these in a shallow dish because they kind of, spill over, and there's my garlic and, the dill weed is showing through. Again, I forgot the bay leaf, which I feel is pretty important. So this is going to taste a little bit different. And you just want it to ferment. I left mine to ferment for about a week because it's summer here right now. And it kind of only needs a week, but you can go for longer. Once it's fermented to your desire, you want to take that cabbage leaf. Am I saying this right? I don't remember. It's late and finally got the baby down. So anyways, you want to take that out and you want to take the weight out if you put a weight in. If not, you just take the leaf out, and just like that, you have sauerkraut. You'll see that it turned a lot more like yellowy because once you start, your cabbage is pretty white or green and it turns like a deep yellow or green color, and you should be all set. Just put a lid on these and put them in the fridge. I don't know about canning sauerkraut, so I have no idea how that works. That was a little peppercorn. Those kind of get fermented as well with the sauerkraut, so you could eat them or discard them. Like I said, I don't know much about canning it. I store mine in the refrigerator and it does really well. You can definitely let them ferment longer, and you might need to if it is, in the winter time or in the colder months. So just keep that in mind. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye.